I think I speak for everybody when I say you're a bit embarrassed. But you can't be more embarrassed, than perhaps Oklahoma fans, for which I'm very familiar and you know. I imagine that when Spencer Rattler was playing football against West Virginia, he felt some kind of way about hearing a crowd full of people that claim to support him call for the backup quarterback. They got what they wanted a couple weeks later, and Caleb Williams is living up to his moniker of Superman. And I hope for all of our sakes that he continues to be as productive, because they have shown they will turn on their starting quarterback just as soon as it ain't going well for him, to say nothing of Spencer Rattler being 15-2 as a starting quarterback. I also think that the crowd noise has as much to do with how you feel about what you're doing as anything else in sports. It's kind of how I feel about, quite honestly, Twitter, where you can get a tremendous boost from a bunch of people agreeing with you and a bunch of people being on your team. You can also feel devastated by the mood of that crowd and those groups of people who are doing nothing but shouting you down. Now, for those of y'all that don't know, Tennessee and Lane Kiffin, head coach of Ole Miss, they got some history, okay? He became their head coach for 14 months, and then in January 2011, he decided it was time for him to take another job in sunny Southern California. And the way that they responded to this was by showing up and throwing stuff and threatening violence, so much so that he needed a police escort out of the football complex. It's 10 years ago. A lot has happened for you. A lot has happened for them. A lot has happened for Lane Kiffin since then. Those 20-somethings that were students that wanted to know why they were being left are now 30-somethings with kids, mortgages, student loans, the whole bit. I say that to say they hadn't let it go when he showed up to play Saturday night against their Volunteers. And rather than talking about quarterback Hendon Hooker, who played lights-out football, putting everything on the line, he had a hole in his pants by the end of the game, put up 300-plus yards of total offense. Instead of talking about their defense, holding an Ole Miss team that can go for 50 to 31 points. Instead of talking about Matt Corral, who had 400 all-purpose yards and nearly 200 on the ground for a dude that ain't supposed to be running the ball like that. What we have to talk about is you. What we have to talk about is, with less than a minute to go in this game, and the game's still very much in the balance, we get Tennessee fans throwing full bottles of water. We get Tennessee fans throwing golf balls. We get Tennessee fans, or at least one, throwing a bottle of mustard, not onto the field, but onto the sideline, as if that's any better. Because somebody's baby boy is down there. And you're throwing these things that from that distance and from that height could seriously have injured them because you're mad at Lane Kiffin and you're mad at some officiating. This is unconscionable. It cannot be. We cannot allow this. I think about all these ways in which the crowds can influence what we're doing. I think about AD Danny White, who not only had to issue a statement saying that the SEC was right to fine them $250,000, he had to come up with $250,000 of the athletic department's money. And I went ahead and did some simple math, and I found that you could put two kids through Tennessee without any problems whatsoever on that amount of money. And yet you got to throw that away because people decided they want to act a fool at Neyland that night. I think that when I think about Lane Kiffin and I think about all the things that he has purported to do and the ways in which he takes himself seriously or not so seriously, and one of the reasons we love him on Twitter is because he's good at telling jokes, is how shook he was in the post-game interview. Like, it wasn't so much that he expected to be, hugged, kissed, beloved by Tennessee fans returning as the head coach of Ole Miss. It was that he could not fathom people wanting to do him harm or willing to do his team harm because they did not have the necessary adult maturity to process their anger and their emotions. What I'm saying is, these are tremendously cowardly acts committed by folks that are hurt. And in a sport where we claim that the game does not matter, it seemed like it was the only thing that did for a lot of these folks. And I get it, right? You live for these 6 home games a year, to say nothing of the 12 that we play. I remind people, we have the longest off season in college football, or in sports, right, as college football. But I also would add to this, it should mean that much more to us. It should matter, okay? It should be unconscionable to college football fans that this is what our game has become. So I'm not going to really go at Tennessee fans as hard as we probably could here, but I am going to ask that you be introspective. I'm going to ask that you think long and hard about why you love this sport, why you claim to be Tennessee fans, why you claim to be college football fans, and wonder, is it that this team is you? Is it that you are your team? Or is it because it makes you so very happy to watch these tweens be superheroes for a night? That's what I'm here for. I'm here for the stories. I'm here for the absurdity. I'm here because college football is my favorite sport, and I don't want it besmirched by some ugliness because we're angry in the moment. You know as well as anybody else, I'm a passionate dude. I get loud. I yell. It's part of who I am. You talk to the people that work with me on this show every week, and they'll tell you the same. Full-time, nonstop. But I have learned the difference between, hey, I'm very upset about the result of this game, and really wanting to go hurt somebody or hurt something because it didn't go my way. I think about the atrocity, Texas A&M in Alabama. I think about people fighting in the stands. And then I wonder, what happened to Church of Sport? What happened to we all congregate and have a good time and enjoy this thing that brings us a common amount of joy, that's supposed to bring us together? And how that can get so spoiled so quickly, so soon, because the mob mentality takes over, and the mob mentality takes over because somebody did not have the temerity to look at a coward who threw an empty water bottle onto the field and say, no, enough. Have some class. Who raised you? You know we got to go to church tomorrow. How are you going to justify this? There aren't that many people that I'm saying just owe Lane Kiffin an apology, as hard as that is for y'all to fathom. But owe those kids an apology for taking out your frustrations on them as they were doing every single thing in their power to try to win a football game. Get up, watch film, go to class on Monday, and do it all over again this weekend. Hey, kinfolk, I appreciate you for watching. Subscribe here and ring the bell so you don't miss the latest upload to the channel. Also, be sure to watch more videos here, like FS1 Studio shows and the best from Fox Sports and Fox Sports Digital.